Hello and welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll find the most recent news, entertaining moments, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Almost everyone gave the first 3 episodes of Survivor 50 high marks. Superfans, casual fans, and lapsed fans hit up social media and Reddit in droves to shout about how stoked they were. Of course, they raved about seeing Siri, Coach, Colby, and all the old favorites back. But on the whole, they were also really positive on most of the new era returnees too. The energy was at its highest level in a long time. Unfortunately, that all came crashing down this week when Survivor dropped the lowest rated episode in the history of the show. It currently has a rating of 4/10 on IMDb at the time of this writing, and given that it is still falling as more people rate it, there is a good chance that it will end up somewhere in the 3s. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but given all the night of negativity on social media and how fans take out their frustrations in 2026, this doesn't exactly feel like a blindside. Most of the fan complaints centered around country singer Zac Brown. The Survivor superfan went to Fiji to spearfish and play some songs as part of a reward. Most of the contestants were clearly stoked to see him, but the show lingered and lingered and lingered on the reward. It gave Brown a whopping 4 confessionals and an extended sequence of him spearfishing. He also talked about his own journey as a Survivor fan and played a number of songs. It was way too much. The negative feedback has been so loud that there's no way host Jeff Probst and the producers aren't aware of what's going on. They're certainly hearing the boos. But to be clear, the takeaway here should not be that bringing Zac Brown to the island was a bad idea. Having him spearfish and sing for the contestants was a fun reward that the players clearly cared about. Dee cried about losing. Coach, who has eaten fresh fish from all over the world, claimed that it was the best fish he had ever eaten. The idea here was good. The editing process is the issue. We are not spending time with Zac Brown while we watch Survivor. We're watching Survivor to see how the castaways feel about seeing Zac Brown. It was great to spend time with Colby, Joe, and others discussing their rewards challenge experiences. It helped us gain a new perspective on their characters. Spending time with them while they had meaningful experiences was enjoyable. What was not great were the moments we got with Zac Brown that had nothing to do with the players currently playing the game. Because he isn't on Survivor, I don't need to see him spearfishing or hear him talk about his relationship with the show. He's not one of the characters I'm watching the show for. He is an awesome reward. That is what he does. For the purposes of this game, he has more in common with fried chicken and macaroni and cheese or hiking up the Great Wall of China than he does with Genevieve, Q, or Mike White. I don't care what he thinks because he isn't a player. Fans were extremely concerned about the celebrity influence on Survivor 50 going into this season. The trailer devoted way too much time to Jimmy Fallon, Mr. Beast. Fans were extremely concerned about how their presence might affect the game, including Beast and others. The Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol was a particularly loud topic of conversation, but Probst made the rounds before the season and assured fans the celebrities weren't going to have a big impact on the game. This episode is a good reminder that they both have and haven't. So far, neither the strategy nor the outcome have been influenced by celebrities. For instance, the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol is nothing more than a wacky take on an idol that could have been referred to by any name. The Zac Brown reward is just a reward that works like the Liz Wilcox Applebee's burger does. The celebrities are not taking over the game, but they are affecting how the editors are putting together the show, which is a problem. I'm going to do my best, Emily Flippin, and just be blunt about this. The way Survivor is editing these celebrities is embarrassing to watch as a fan of the show. It is not so cool that Billie Eilish consented to her name being used for a new style of idol. Even though she has nothing to do with the season, the fact that the show has mentioned her more than a dozen times is actually embarrassing. It is not so cool that Zach Brown came to Fiji to be a part of Survivor. It is actually embarrassing that he has given more confessions over the course of 4 episodes than Tiffany has through Siri. Survivor is far from the only show or event with this celebrity problem. Celebrities have been snuck into big moments in professional wrestling for a long time. During broadcasts, small market sports teams frequently interrupt their celebrity fans. I can't tell you how many television shows I've watched that have made awkward cameos with famous people after learning that they are fans. This isn't just a problem with Survivor. With more celebrity cameos to come, the show needs to take this feedback into consideration and make changes. At some point in the future, we're getting Jimmy Fallon. Sooner or later, Mr. Beast is actually going to appear on the island. We know this from the trailer. We may not be aware of additional instances. The editors should keep in mind that viewers are watching the show to see the actual contestants, and I certainly am not advising them to not show or reference these moments that have already occurred. But given how negative fans were about this episode, I am pleading with them to do so. There is not a single celebrity on Earth I would rather see while I'm watching Survivor than Coach. There is no world leader I'm more interested in seeing on Survivor than Siri. Show the celebrities, sure, but don't give us their perspective. Always keep it from the viewpoint of the players. Was this last episode of Survivor the worst in the show's history? No, absolutely not. We were presented with an extremely intriguing, but, in my opinion, stupid blindside. There was a really fun challenge. Legends of the game confessed in some entertaining ways to us. A lot of what we got was good. It was far superior to clip shows, and both episodes contained at least 100 other twists in the hourglass. But what we did receive was subpar and not even close to what we had hoped for. As the editors finish editing the remaining episodes, they should keep in mind that taking the focus away from the players is never a good idea. Tension, strategy, and the fundamental unpredictability of human behavior under pressure are the foundations upon which Survivor's legacy has been built over time. The show has survived for more than 2 decades without losing its fundamental characteristics that made it a global phenomenon. But every so often, even the most successful franchises stumble, and when they do, the impact can be loud, clear, and impossible to ignore. That's exactly what happened when one of the lowest-rated episodes in the show's history aired, sparking concern among fans and critics alike. While ratings alone don't always tell the whole story, this particular drop feels different. The growing disparity between what viewers expect and what they get is the real issue, not just the numbers. And if there's one group that should be paying very close attention, it's the editors. Editing has always been the invisible backbone of Survivor. It determines how audiences relate to the players, builds suspense, and shapes narratives. A well-edited episode can turn a straightforward vote into a gripping story. A poorly edited one, however, can leave viewers confused, disengaged, or worse, bored. Many fans cited a major problem with the episode's low rating as a lack of clarity in storytelling. Key conversations were glossed over, alliances seemed to change without explanation, and the outcome of the tribal council felt unearned. Instead of a satisfying payoff, viewers were left asking, wait, how did we get here? That question alone is a red flag for any reality competition show. What made Survivor great in its earlier seasons, and even in many of its modern ones, was its ability to make the audience feel like participants in the game. Viewers weren't just watching, they were analyzing, predicting, and debating. They understood the motivations behind each move because the edit gave them the necessary context. The investment also suffers when that context ceases to exist. The unbalanced amount of screen time was another major issue with the episode. While some players dominated the narrative, others, who ultimately played a significant role in the vote, were barely visible.
The experience as a whole suffers from this kind of uneven storytelling. It doesn't feel like a twist when a character who has been mostly unnoticed suddenly becomes important. Rather, it feels like a storytelling void. Of course, editing a show like Survivor is no easy task. With days' worth of footage condensed into a single episode, tough decisions have to be made. But that's precisely why the role of the editor is so critical. It's not just about what gets included, it's about how it's presented. Every confessional, every reaction shot, every transition contributes to the narrative puzzle. The rise of big moves in recent seasons may be part of the problem. The show has heavily relied on shocking revelations and blindsides to keep the game fresh. These moments can be thrilling, but if they are not properly set up, they lose their impact. A blindside shouldn't feel arbitrary,
People are
but
aware
unexpected.
when a show as iconic as Survivor experiences a creative low point. The series has mastered the delicate balance between strategy, character development, and high-stakes drama for more than 2 decades. It has reinvented itself multiple times, survived changing audience tastes, and remained a staple of reality television. However, mistakes can occur in even the most robust formats, and one of the show's lowest-rated episodes has sparked a debate that cannot be ignored. This was more than just a small drop in ratings. It was a warning, a caution, a defining moment that revealed flaws in Survivor's storytelling foundation. And the editors, the unseen architects who shape every narrative beat, are the group that ought to be paying attention. Survivor is a chess match brought to life at its best. Every alliance, every betrayal, every whispered conversation feeds into a larger story that unfolds with precision. The audience is invited into the players' minds, given the tools to comprehend strategy, and encouraged to make their own predictions. But that connection fell apart in this particular episode. There was disorientation rather than clarity. It appeared as though crucial strategic decisions came out of nowhere. The players who ultimately influenced the vote were barely featured prior to the vote. Conversations that ought to have been central to the story of the episode were either rushed through or completely omitted. The result was a tribal council that didn't feel like a culmination. It felt like a surprise with no setup, and it wasn't a pleasant surprise either. This is where editing becomes more than just technical work. It becomes storytelling in its purest form. Editors decide what the audience knows, when they know it, and how it all fits together. Even a straightforward vote can be emotionally charged and tense when done well. When done poorly, even the most dramatic blindside can fall flat. The uneven amount of screen time was one of the episode's biggest criticisms. A handful of contestants dominated the narrative, while others, who clearly played important roles, were left in the background. The viewer's ability to follow the game is hampered by uneven visibility. Because the groundwork was never laid properly, it results in a disconnect, and the outcomes feel unearned. For longtime fans, this is particularly frustrating. The show's reputation was built on making the audience feel smart. You weren't just watching the game. Instead, you were analyzing it and trying to stay ahead of the game. Strategies were changing, tensions were rising, and alliances were being formed. Viewers were captivated by that sense of involvement. But when the edit withholds too much or misdirects without purpose, it removes that engagement. Rather than feeling clever for anticipating a move, viewers struggle to comprehend it after the fact. There's also a broader issue at play: the show's increasing reliance on big moments. In recent seasons, Survivor has heavily relied on surprises, advantages, and blind spots. Even though these elements can make the drama better, they can't take the place of good storytelling. A shocking vote only works if the audience understands why it happened. Without that context, it becomes noise rather than narrative. In this low-rated episode, the emphasis on surprise seemed to come at the expense of coherence. The editors appeared more focused on hiding the outcome than building toward it. However, Survivor has never been at its best when storytelling is treated as a trick. The objective is to include the audience in the journey, not deceive them. Pacing was another noticeable issue.
Important strategic conversations were glossed over, while less relevant scenes were given extended attention. This imbalance disrupted the episode's rhythm, making it feel both rushed and slow at the same time. Timing is just one aspect of good pacing. Prioritization is another. It's about knowing when to squeeze in more time and when to cut back. Fan reactions in the aftermath were swift and pointed. Social media lit up with confusion, disappointment, and a shared sense that something was off. Even casual viewers, those who don't typically analyze every move, noticed the lack of clarity. It's a sign that the problem is more serious when passionate fans and general audiences voice the same concerns. To be fair, editing Survivor is an incredibly complex task. Hundreds of hours of footage must be distilled into a cohesive, engaging story. There are choices to be made, and not every moment will be chosen. But that's precisely why the role demands such precision. Every inclusion and omission carries weight. The encouraging part is that this is a fixable problem. Unlike casting or format changes, which take time to implement, editing adjustments can happen relatively quickly. Beginning with a shift in priorities, the emphasis shifts from shock value to narrative clarity, giving equal attention to all key players, ensuring that every major outcome is supported by visible strategy. There's also room to experiment. With evolving viewing habits, the show could explore slightly longer episodes or supplemental content that fills in narrative gaps. It could make a big difference with even the smallest changes, like more strategic confessions or clearer transitions between scenes. Ultimately, Survivor is a show about people navigating complex social dynamics under extreme conditions. The strategy and the twists are important, but they won't work unless the story is clear and compelling. That's what transforms a series of events into a meaningful experience. This lowest-rated episode should not be dismissed as an anomaly. It should be treated as a wake-up call, a reminder that even a legendary show must stay grounded in the fundamentals that made it successful. Because viewers don't just want to be surprised, they wish to understand. They want to feel the tension build up, see the pieces fit together, and feel like they earned the reward. And all that begins and ends with the edit.